there's more. Okay. Yeah. All right. Hello,
It's so
everybody.
good. Welcome to Quest, the
The
Adventure Game
Game
Podcast.
Podcast. Well, if you're saying welcome to Quest, then I say the Adventure Game Podcast. You don't say.
Okay, well let's do it again here.
All right.
Welcome to the Adventure Game Podcast.
Quest. I'm Ben, PS_Garrick on Twitch and YouTube.
And I am Jess, Decaf Jedi on both of those places aforementioned.
How you doing today, Jess?
I'm doing pretty good. It was a restful Sunday. I went out to see the Thunderbolts movie. It was excellent Marvel fun. So yeah, I haven't been to a movie in months, and theaters are still theaters.
Yeah. Was it crowded? Were there people there? People out to see the latest Marvel movie?
As we record this, it's been out for I think 2 or 3 weeks now, so it thinned out quite a bit. The 4:30 matinee in a tiny little West Virginian theater is usually
on a Sunday,
pretty sparse on a Sunday when everyone is spending Sunday with their mother. It's Mother's Day as we record this.
Yeah, I also saw a movie today. I saw 1954's Johnny Guitar.
Okay, so that's an early entry in the MCU.
Yeah, that's one of it. It was Joan Crawford's first movie in the MCU.
Now, am I safe to assume that is where the song Johnny Guitar from Fallout New Vegas originates?
I would assume that
yes,
that is from yes. I would assume that is a correct assumption. Do 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 do. That one.
I think so. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah,
it's a Western starring Joan Crawford.
Wow.
Well known for being a great mother. That's
that's
one of the things that there's a whole movie about. It's called Mommy Dearest, and it's about just what a great mom she is.
Yeah. And proper closet organization.
yeah, it's pretty much a TED Talk. It was before we had Marie Kondo, we had Joan Crawford. And her the magic of organized closets. But yeah, that's one way to celebrate Mother's Day is to watch a Joan Crawford Western.
Do you think the children would say she is mother?
Oh, Joan Crawford? Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Joan.
She's definitionally
Joan Crawford. Yes. Oh my God. Yes, she is mother energy for sure. Oh.
Well,
are you kidding?
Yeah, no.
Have you seen her brows?
She's got serious brows.
Yeah. Oh, she's incredible. Yeah.
So how many guitars out of 5 does it get?
That's a 5 guitar flick. That's
okay.
a 5. How many guitars? How many Thunderbolts did you give Thunderbolts?
I would give Thunderbolts 4 Thunderbolts out of 5. There was room for 1 Thunderbolt worth of improvement.
So like an asterisk, you would say?
I would put, yes, that's right. Absolutely.
Was this a solo film outing, or was this the fam?
This was the fam and the neighbors and their daughter. So this was like a big outing.
Whoa. Everyone's rolling out.
That's right. I snuck a box of hot tamales into the theater, Ben. I feel like I need to confess that to someone.
I saw a big line outside of my neighborhood tamale place this morning.
Now I'm talking about the crappy candies, hot tamales, not like an actual tamale.
No. Man, Jess, I was so excited that you had snuck like an igloo container full of actual tamales.
I just had all my pockets stuffed with cornmeal tamales. Yeah, no, that's how I went in. I scooped them out and ate them.
I had this vision in my mind of corn, of hot corn husks
Yes.
with delicious little cornmeal
Mhm.
and a protein
Yeah,
just stuffed in your trench coat, and you're handing
that's
them
right.
off to your wife and child and the
Yeah,
neighbors and their kid,
yeah.
and just
My
like, oh,
daughter's
this
just
oun's pork,
yeah.
this
My
one's
daughter's loading
sweet
down with
corn.
cajita cheese to sprinkle on top. Yeah, no, we were doing great. Yeah, no. Ben, I do love
Oh,
the idea you would hear hot tamales at a movie theater and
yeah.
jump to a proper tamale rather than the cinnamon jelly candy.
Well, I don't think I've ever enjoyed. I don't. My problem with a hot tamale parentheses candy
Parentheses derogatory.
is, yeah, parentheses derogatory, is that it I first off, I don't think I like those, or like fireballs, like just kind of the like spicy cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just not my preferred flavor. But also, it feels like only 25% of the time do you get a box of those, and like I'll add in like dots, which
Mm-hmm.
are like the same except
Yeah. Mike and
flavor,
Ike's are in
Yeah,
that
Mike and I,
category.
was it More in Plenty?
Good and plenty.
Good
Good
and
and
Plenty,
plenty.
Good and Plenty, like all of those.
Yeah.
It feels like only 25%, 20% of the time do you get one that is like properly chewy and not like completely solid. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
desiccated beyond recognition. No, and this was a good fresh box. So yeah,
Getting
I
a fresh
was
box, okay.
I was in tamale heaven.
You were in
Uh,
tamale heaven parentheses the candy.
yeah. Now I will say, now that you say that, God, eating some tamales while watching a movie, like proper tamales, sounds fabulous.
Dude, of course. It would be a great Tamales would be a delightful movie snack. I
Oh,
don't know if they
absolutely.
have them over at like Alamo Draft House. I don't know,
Hmm.
like because you have a menu there. So I'll have to check next time I'm at Alamo Draft House, but like
But then
pretty
you
sure
say
that's
that, and I'm
there.
now thinking it's like, what wouldn't be a great environment for eating tamales? I'm really like maybe a funeral.
No.
I mean, it depends on who's dead.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah, no, I mean,
I could think of a few. But
no.
the I so in Chicago there are tamale men.
Hmm.
Specifically, there's like one guy who I believe is like the canonical tamale guy, and then like a bunch of imitators. And so like a guy, like kind this middle-aged guy walks in and he has a cooler, like a igloo cooler full of tamales, and he just yells tamales, and he walks into a bar and like sells like a little Ziploc bag that he made wherever, with like three tamales and a little cup of like spicy salsa, and it's, I believe, pork, chicken, and cheese are
Oh
your
man,
options.
if I'm not mistaken, I met this guy
That's right. I
during
was
my
going to
first.
say, didn't you meet the tamale man?
Yes, I did meet the tamale man, and looking back, I asked myself, why didn't I just get some tamales? Like
Yeah.
they're delicious.
Here's here's another thing though. When I was last in New Orleans,
The
I
Big
was at a
Easy.
bar. Yeah, the AKA the Big Easy. I was at a bar, and I with a friend of mine, and he turns to me and he goes, "Oh my God, Ben, you're gonna love this. Check this out." And this guy walks in and he yells, "Tamales!" And he's like, "It's this guy. He's the tamale guy." And he walks into bars and he has tamales, and I'm like, "No, that's ours." And now I'm wondering, is like I'm going to assume maybe like a San Diego probably had like, but I
Yes.
don't know. Did Chicago? This is something I like because I just kind of was walking around in my head of like, oh, it's the canonical tamale man. But is it like, are there others? So tonight's quest, our quest is in uncovering the original tamale man.
The
My
League of
report,
Tamale Men.
yeah, my report begins
Welcome
5 years
to
ago.
This American
I
Life.
was on I was on a steamer ship bound to Morocco when I entered into quite a scintillating conversation with known author Mark Twain. he began.
So my actual name is Samuel Clemens, and I grew up on a steamboat on the Mississippi. You have to always join those interviews already in progress. Like you can, I mean that's the format.
Absolutely. And then if it's like real radio, like there's like kind of like you hear like a like a clink 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 clink.
Yeah. And if it's Radio Lab, you have like some really annoying sound effects and over processing layered on top of it. Also, that's right. We're putting you on notice. This American Life, Radio Lab. Does Radio Lab still exist?
I don't know.
I haven't listened to it in like
every
10
now
years.
and again. I'm like, oh, This American Life, and then I'm like, because I had a period, as I think we all did. I mean, maybe like where I intensely listened to
absolutely.
This American Life. Like I think probably like the first 200 or 300 episodes I know back to front.
Yeah,
and then I was like, all right, I've had enough. And then like every like 5 years, I'm like, oh, This American Life, that still exists. And then it's like, and I look at it, it's like now celebrating 800, 1,000. Like I don't know how many episodes it has now, but I'm like, holy shit.
America only has like 400 interesting stories.
Yeah. And there's one story I want to get out of you, Jess.
Yeah.
The story of what have you been playing?
Wow, Ben. I'd like to come in here with a hot new game that's going to excite and titillate all the listeners.
Was it Overwatch?
It's going to be Overwatch. But you see, Ben, the thing is, I've been playing more of Blizzard's.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was. It's going to be. I wish I had a better game, but I haven't had a lot of time to game this week. And when I did, I played Overwatch. And let me tell you, I accomplished maybe one of the greatest gaming accomplishments of my lifetime this week in Overwatch. And I'm very proud of it. Mm-hmm. They have launched a new mode in Overwatch, which is like called Stadium Mode. And the whole idea is it's a 5 versus 5 best of 7 series of small maps. Okay. But between maps, you earn cash and can use them to upgrade and tweak and personalize all of your characters. So now there's a progression system in Overwatch. So you can make your character do all kinds of freaky new powers and stuff. So that's exciting.
Do they call new modes in Overwatch Modeverwatches?
No, they call them Move Overwatch because there's a brand new mode to play now.
Yeah, there's a new mode in town.
Yeah, that's right. But no, here's the thing. They had an achievement in the game that if you could beat this mode with every hero in the game, you got this achievement.
How many heroes are there?
In this mode, I think there are maybe 18 out of the 40 or so are represented.
Okay.
So a lot of these are DPS heroes. I can't aim. I'm not young enough and spry enough to play damage roles.
Your DPS days are behind you, Jess.
I never had DPS days. There was never I've always been support.
Never had a DPS?
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. But I did it, Ben. I beat it with all those characters. It's unthinkable. Some of these characters I had less than like 10 and 15 minutes on before I got in and started trying to grind out these victories. And now I've unlocked this tiny little challenge that doesn't matter in any sort of way, but I know I did it. And Ben, sometimes that's why you play video games, is that sense of accomplishment. And I have it, and I'm going to lord it over anyone I ever meet that actually has played Overwatch in the future, which there's a good chance that won't happen.
It's a pretty popular game.
I thought you'd be more impressed. I guess what I'm not getting right now is like, I was really hoping there'd be a lot more like, great job, Jess, or, you should be really proud of yourself.
I'm going to be honest, Jess, I don't understand a single word he just said.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't have to.
I'm sure there's some listeners. Sometimes when you talk about Overwatch, when people talk about the podcast in the Discord, they're like, "Oh yeah, good job, Jess, you did it."
Let me say this. Like, imagine you're a flippy ninja guy, and like you're a cyber ninja.
Hard.
Yeah, and you have like shurikens that you can throw at people and do like flips and climb walls, and you have a katana that you can use for like finishing blows and stuff like that.
Got it.
But you are very weak. Like a few hits will just kill you.
Oh.
You have to somehow flip in and out of all of these opponents and hit them with your little tiny throwing. Some of these people have like rocket hammers and literal rocket launchers and all kinds of. Some of them are just magical. But you have like just some throwing stars and a little blade and like 4 health. And I did all the flips necessary to win a round with that little flippy cyber ninja.
Wow.
It wasn't easy, Ben.
How long did this take you? How long did this take you?
It's not important how long things take or what one does with one's days.
What is more embarrassing, that it didn't take you that long and you're just claiming that it was impressive but it wasn't, or are you not saying it because it took way too long?
The latter. It took way too long and lots of grinding. And I will admit, on 2 of those damaged characters, the only reason I won was because someone else on the other team left and it became a 5 versus 4. So it didn't matter how badly I stunk. I could be just like twiddling my thumbs and that match was going to be a win. So those have a Thunderbolts-esque asterisk beside them.
I see.
But we've heard enough about Overwatch on this podcast, and I'll never bring it up again. That's my vow to the listener.
I think I've heard that vow at least on 2 other occasions. But
we'll
see.
Well, we'll see, Ben, won't we? We'll just see. Ben, what have you been playing?
I've been playing this game. You might have heard of it. It's called Rosewater.
Oh, Rosewater.
And, I've been playing this game exclusively on my Steam Deck on my couch.
Mm-hmm.
And like with the Steam Deck plugged to my TV, so just with like an Xbox controller. And like I've played I played Locomotive a little bit like using a controller, but this is like the first, I think, like AGS designed, like kind of traditional point and click, straightforward game made with a mouse in mind that I'm playing sitting on my couch with a gamepad. And you know what? It actually feels great. It's a cozy game. I'm getting such a cozy vibe off of Rosewater, but it might just be that I'm playing it like just completely collapsed on my couch.
I mean, that sounds lovely.
Sitting next to me.
I think
and I'm having a great time doing that.
I think the only adventure games I've ever played on the couch with a controller were probably the 2 Monkey Island special editions. When they came out for Xbox Live, I think I bought both of them there and played them from the couch. I will say, it's a lovely way to experience an adventure game.
It has a different feel.
Yeah.
It has a different feel, I think, also not only being on the couch, but also there's a different way that I interact or like take in something if it's on a monitor than if it's on my TV. If you get me, right?
Yeah, you're more locked in on a monitor in a way that like I feel monopolizes more of your attention. Not always in a great way. It depends on the game. I think that some games require that lock in and maybe others don't.
I'm going to disagree in that watching it or like playing it on the TV, I'm more tolerant of cutscenes.
Oh, interesting.
TVs are for watching.
TVs are for
Computers
watching.
are for doing. TVs are for watching. And so there's like a lot of dialogue in an adventure game, a lot of people conversing, some cutscenes and stuff like that. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, this is a television. It's for watching.
You know, we probably should, for listeners who may not be familiar with Rosewater, tell them what this game is.
It is a Western game made by our past guest of the pod, Francisco Gonzalez. It is, you're working for a newspaper, and while tracking down a story for that newspaper, you get involved in this very like this kind of grand adventure to find this old man's gold. and
Like the Legend of Curly's Gold?
it is about the Legend of Curly's Gold.
Wow.
I didn't want to. This is, you know what? I'm kind of ruining all Rosewater for everyone, but it is actually the big twist of Rosewater is that it's a licensed game, but it's the rare licensed game where that's a surprise. Where you're playing it and it pretends that it's an original property, and then it's revealed to be the adventure game version of The Legend of Curly's Gold, City Slickers 2. And
it was weird. I mean, I should have known when Francisco got Billy Crystal. Like
he has been talking about all the actors that he got.
I know. That should have been the first clue. But no, everyone be sure to go check out Rosewater. It's only been out now for a few weeks. But Ben, how many Rosewaters out of 5 do you give it?
I give it 1 gallon of Rosewater.
I would give it a 10-gallon hat of Rosewater.
But yeah,
That's 10 times better.
I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying all the characters. Like, you know, I also have been playing, and I was talking to you about this before, Jess, the game that we're going to talk about next week. And I played it all day today, and I'm so excited for next week's episode. But let's talk about today's.
I know. I mean, yeah, let's just buzz on past this one and talk about how great next week's episode is going to be.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's talk about how great. But anyway, no, folks, today it's 10 episodes, I believe, after our last episode talking about this series. We are now returning to King's Quest with King's Quest 3.
To err is human.
Did they redo the title on the remake like they did?
No, when AGD Interactive redid King's Quest 3, it now just becomes King's Quest 3 Redux, to err is human.
Anyway, yeah, we're talking about King's Quest 3, To Err is Human, Romancing the Stones, Quest for the Crown. Because it's one of those, with each subsequent King's Quest, they just add to the previous King's Quest title. Did you know that?
Gets so unwieldy by the end of it. Yeah, I mean,
Mask of Eternity, The Princess Bride,
What is King's Quest 6? Oh, no.
I just played this shit.
Yeah, come on, Ben.
I know 5.
Absence makes the heart go yonder's 5.
Yeah, I know. Shit. I don't want to look
Today, Gone Tomorrow?
Air Today, Gone Tomorrow.
Okay.
Absence makes the heart grow fond. What?
Go yonder.
Go yonder. The Perils of Rosella, which kind of draws outside of the lines of like, or is that a play on words? The Perils.
I think there's
of
the
Rosella.
Perils of Pauline. Isn't that a thing that?
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Perils of Pauline was a 1933 serial. So yeah, it sounds really good. I bet a lot of kids who were into 1930s American serials were probably into adventure serials.
But anyway, romance.
King's Quest 3. How do you feel like, Ben? Let's lay our cards on the table. King's Quest 3.
All right. So this one is going to be another one where I'm kind of talking to you about your experience with it, I think, because I think there's a lot of surprise about King's Quest 3. And when I played King's Quest 3, I knew, spoilers, if you're, assume this is all spoilers. If that's something you sincerely care about for a game from 1986?
Yes.
That's
over 20 years ago.
Yeah. I think it's just about 20 years ago.
It's roughly 20 years.
Yeah, I think 1986 is 20 years ago. But
as we record this,
yeah, when we record this. So, but anyway, I knew when I played it that he was Alexander. I knew that like my actual thing with King's Quest 3 is that I found it way, way, way too stressful and scary as a kid.
This is a real thing. And I think this is a experience a lot of people share.
I found it so stressful and scary as a kid that I never completed it because I like it was just stressing me out so much. And like the timer and all of that. Um, so that was always I was always just like, ugh. And
Yeah, and in terms of where the stress comes, I think I mean I'm guessing a lot of our listeners know what King's Quest 3 is all about.
what's the plot? What's the plot?
You're Gwydion, a young slave boy who lives in the home of a wizard by the name of Manannan. You toil under Manannan day in, day out, doing chores around his house. And little do you know, at the beginning of the game, you are actually young Prince Alexander, the son of King Graham and Queen Valenice of Daventry. You were kidnapped as an infant babe, taken to Lualdor, where you've been held captive by this wizard. And then as the game unfolds, you learn magic and eventually defeat this wizard and go off in search of your true heritage. It and the stress comes in. I think there are two areas that lend to this stress because
Yeah,
I know this is something I felt playing it. It's something I know you felt. Other
yeah.
people who have commented in chats while I've played King's Quest 3 mentioned this as well. On the one hand, Manannan will go off on journeys, during which time Gwydion can gather spell components and sneak down to his secret laboratory and start brewing up
Yep.
various spells and things. As a child, I did not realize he is on a set timer.
Even though
Uh,
there's a clock on the screen,
there's a clock on the screen, but I never paid close enough
you're
attention to
just like,
realize
oh,
he
it's
was.
just a clock. Have fun.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was leaving in like 5 or 10 or 15-minute increments or whatever it is. So for me, I thought it was just completely random. I thought it was a game where at any moment this wizard could appear, say something like, "Why do you have my wand in your pocket?" and
And
just
then
kill
just
you, game over
turn you
right
into
away.
ash. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I think that stresses a lot of people out is the copy protection. To brew these spells up, to concoct them, you have to type in word for word every step of those spells
What happens if
from
you
the
don't get it
manual.
exactly right? What happens if you put in a word like if you like put the wrong letter in? Does
You
it just
get
say, "Oh, mistake,
check
try
your
again"?
spelling. Yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah.
no. What
Does it say
happens at
that?
that point is it's again game over. Usually there's some sort of wacky you cast this spell incorrectly effect. Like if you're trying to cast the I want to be able to understand the speech of animals and you get something slightly wrong,
Mhm.
it'll make Gwydion's ears turn giant, and I guess he dies from giant ears at
Yeah.
that point.
Well, it's happened. It happened
Yeah,
to a cousin. Um,
really.
yeah. I don't
Old
like to
big
talk.
ears.
Well, he was doing spells in his basement lab,
Hmm.
and he mistyped the spell, and then he got big ears, and then he just fell over and died.
Well, I mean, the weight of the ears is an issue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. People think that if your ears were big, it'd just be like kind of inconvenient. No, no,
yeah.
not these
If you
types
lay
of
down
ears.
on your side, it could crush your skull.
Yeah, that's right. They're made out of heavy bone.
Well, there are
Now,
more bones in the ear than any other part of the body. So you get big ears.
so
That's a lot of
Jess,
big bones.
I watched today to prepare for this. I watched a full long play uh of it, like just straight through to kind of refresh me for me. And I have a question for you. So you played this and beat it as a kid, correct?
Yes.
By yourself, like, well, like without hints,
Without hints, without a
like with your
hint book,
neighbor, or
no hint
was
line.
this?
Yeah, this is one I played with my neighbor and friend Andy growing up, and we eventually beat this one. It took a little while. This wasn't one that came quickly to me, but we polished it off without any help.
That's crazy to me. One, two. Uh, like I have this question for you. I know you like if you're ever cooking something, if you're ever in the kitchen and you look at a recipe, does this pop into your head?
Now, why would this induce anxiety? I don't understand. Like, why would this be a.
Well, but it's also just the tune. Like you're because the first half of it is also just writing down the recipe stuff. Like it's like,
Yes.
use feather on, like stir feather in mortar. do this and that. So it's a recipe thing, and then you write the full incantation.
Yes.
So that's why I was like, it's like a recipe.
It's intense. No, I mean that is the sort of whatever the equivalent of a sleep paralysis demon might be. That is my like music that plays in my head when I'm in the midst of a very stressful situation. I mean, this game did scar me a tiny bit as a kid. I think it's the first game I ever had a nightmare about. I think it's the first game that ever gave me a stress dream as a kid. I love a good stress dream. I try to have at least one stress dream every night.
Yeah, they're good. They're good for you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And like all stress, it keeps you on your toes, especially when you're laying on your back.
That's right. That's the best time to be on your toes, when you least expect it.
That's right.
There's one thing that really jumped out at me, and I remember also you commenting on this when you played, and we're talking about like the original version. We'll talk about the remake, which you played recently in a little bit. There's one thing that really made me laugh when I was rewatching it today, which was I forgot about the very odd swings in tone in the narration, which is not unique to this game. Like the AGI games in general, and I don't think we talked about this, have kind of a particular authorial flair in the dialogue, and in some games it's a little heavier, and in others it's not as present. And like, this isn't the tone in all of the narration boxes, but this is the tone in enough that it really jumped out to me, which is it's like, so here's one. You run a hand along the top of the closet. Suddenly you touch something metallic. Grabbing it, you discover ellipses a small brass key. What could it unlock?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I love that. Like, I don't know. It's kind of funny to me. Here's another one. Nothing like a little salt air to perk up a boy's spirits. Like, this is when you're on the pirate ship. That was one. Now, this is where you would. I remember when you were streaming the original last year. There were a lot of laughs. First off, this is from when you rescue Rosella at the end of the game. First off, Rosella is very busty.
Yes.
Like
she is the second bustiest character in this game. She's stacked.
There's the two women in this game,
literally the only other woman.
Valanice, are very busty in this game, which is very funny. All right. Anyway, so here's all of the dialogue when you rescue Rosella. So you are seeing for the very first time in your life your sister after being a captive. I'll explain it all later. You continue, realizing that now is not the time for this. Just follow me. Let's go meet the folks. With mixed emotion, the girl agrees to follow you. It's kind of weird. Let's go meet the folks. All right, now this is when you two see the castle in the distance. We make a note that like you kind of see Daventry and it looks really terrible now.
Yeah.
Here's home. Your sister cries in delight. Mom and Dad will be so happy.
Now, Mom and Dad did just sacrifice her to a 3-headed dragon also. So there's that element that makes this all very odd.
Here's another. Oh, yippee! You did it, Your Majesty. Now, there's a lot of exclamation points and liberal usage of all caps. This is has a typo in it. It's missing a quote, but whatever. So there's not a quote. It says, "Oh, yippee! You did it, Your Majesty." And then I assume that there's supposed to be like a end quote, and it doesn't do that. The gnome squeals in delight, or maybe the gnome said that.
Wow, the gnome squealed in delight.
I knew you could save us all. King Graham and Queen Valanice will be so overjoyed to see you two. He claps his gnarled hands. I must run ahead to announce your arrival. The gnome spryly scampers towards the castle.
It wasn't until this later version of the AGI engine that Sierra could include so many adverbs in a text part. Like now we have the ability to have roughly 3 times as many adjectives and adverbs in any given text box. So you can really see him showing it off here.
Yeah, they were having a lot of fun. I'll
Yeah.
also note one of my very favorite things. So the game ends with King Graham tossing off his adventurer's cap. Uh-oh, what will happen? Cliffhanger. Who knows of the two kids what will happen? I'm sure this will pay off in an interesting way in the next game. But so that's how the game ends. There's a dialogue box and it's the end and then like a line dash, so an empty line, and then just 3 centered question marks.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
What will happen next?
It's hard to say. Hard to say.
I
Anything
don't
could
know
happen
what's
next.
going to happen next. I need to know.
Well, there's good news, Ben. We'll fill in that blank in a few more episodes.
But yeah,
So-
I just had to call out. As I said, some of the AGI games have this tone in them, but it's especially noticeable in King's Quest 3. At least when I was like
it is
taking
an
notes on it.
enthusiastic narrator at some level. And, I do think that speaks to one of the biggest things that leapt out about King's Quest 3 for me when I played it for the first time in a really long time last year, which is it is such like by leaps and bounds a step beyond what we see in King's Quest 1 and King's Quest 2.
Oh yeah,
I mean, this is in terms of narrative, in terms of story and some actual character development, the mechanics of the game by the time you add in spell casting and the whole wizard coming and going on a schedule. Everything about this one, the fact that you change locations in a pretty major way. You go from Luldor to the pirate ship and eventually back to Daventry, whereas the previous games had largely taken place kind of in one locale, at least up until the end, I guess, of King's Quest 2 when you go through the final door or whatever. But I feel like this is a game that is really a huge leap forward for the
yeah.
series in kind of every way. And I think that's what really impressed me about it. I mean, there's lots to love here. By this point, Sierra had gotten very good with AGI art. There's some really gorgeous scenes in this game. Music is still not really a big part of what's going on here, right? I mean, this is still a game with
That KQ3 opening tune is very good though.
it is very good. It is, and again, it's an improvement on what's come before. But you mentioned earlier when you first played this that you knew from the start that Gwydion was actually Prince Alexander.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you this. How did you feel about this as a kid, not knowing
now you
that?
see, there were lots of good clues. The title of the game, for instance, to err as human, would suggest that there's some sort of error involved in this. The fact that it's still a King's Quest game, mysteries. I was a dumb kid when I played this. I was 10 or probably 10 years old, I think. I did not see it coming. And it really was when the Oracle tells you of your true identity, it was like jaw on the floor for little Jess. I did not see this coming and it blew my mind. I was just like, I didn't know you could have a twist like this in a video game.
Was it like finding out that Samus is actually a girl?
Less hot. But yeah, it was a lot like that. And suddenly I could also be like, oh, I actually care about this kid now. I didn't care if he lived or died before, but now that I know that he's part of the Daventry royal family,
Yeah,
I'm
now that
back
you
on
know
board.
that he has royal blood, you care about him.
That's right. That's right. I realize he's capable of great things.
Yeah.
Before he was just some nobody with a stolen wand, but now I know he can accomplish anything. He had it in him all along, and by it, I mean royal privilege.
Yeah. The I talked about this when we talked about King's Quest 2, I think, which is that like so now you kind of see it like to your point, like this is way more narrative focused than the other ones, and it's really funny. This and 4 are like really transitions. They're squishy
Hmm.
transition games between like the first two games are a little more like here's a big open space and here's like kind of these couple tasks you can do in whatever order. Um uh Not really the case in two, but you understand what I'm saying there.
Yeah.
And then this has that, except that it still has like it's really funny to me. Like it has one of the notes that I took when I was watching it. And here's a question I have for you: is there an AGI game that has as detailed and as cohesive a setting as Manannan's Castle?
Oh man, that's a
Because
great
it's like
question.
there are big central locations, like in the Dark Crystal, you're wandering
Hmm.
around that castle forever. That's like enormous, and it like just a lot of it is nothing.
Yeah, Black Cauldron, right?
Or yeah, Black Cauldron. Sorry.
Same difference.
Um, but like in this, every room is detailed and like it really has a very definitive sense of space.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I really love about this game. And like when I think about how it's kind of focused in comparison, like to its predecessors, but then it's really funny. You have this really cohesive space that Manannan inhabits, and he has an evil
Hmm.
cat in. And then like you just kind of wander around, and the Goldilocks story is there,
Yes.
and there's just a Medusa.
Yeah, just hanging out in the desert.
There's just like a Medusa in the desert where
Yeah,
like
maybe the Medusa. I don't know.
it just seems like a Medusa,
It
right?
seems
Like
like
because
more
it's
of a
like, oh no,
lowercase m.
Medusa.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do love this. I mean, you're absolutely right about Manannan's house. Like, I was trying to think of other locations in series, like Valhalla's asteroid in Space Quest 2 is largely copy and pasted in terms of design. It doesn't make a lot of logical sense in how you move around it, you know. But Manannan's house really does feel like a coherent space in a way. And
That's
then
right.
I would say, as weird as it is that you mishmash, again, Goldilocks and a little town and a Medusa area and all that. I do like the element that you can see parts of Luldor from up on top of
I That was one of my favorite
the mountain
things
and the
too.
map. Then you have the magic map that allows you to move around and seeing those screens sort of oriented together.
Yep.
The whole first part of the game really feels like a real space. And
Yeah.
that's something I think comes up in a lot of our episodes when we talk about games, is that's
Yeah.
something that we both respond, I think, pretty positively to.
Right.
But it feels
Yeah.
like a real lived in kind of game world. As ridiculous as this one is sometimes, again, three bears, Goldilocks, um, that goes a long way toward making one of these games charming.
Exactly. Like, and uh yeah, that's something I always like in these is this feeling of, it's like, yeah, you're and from the first scene, like the first screen that you have like control, you're standing outside of the Manannan's castle. You could see the dock, you could see the little town, you know?
Yeah.
Like you could see that there. But I love one of the things I noticed about the shop in the town is that
Hmm.
it's kind of like an 18th century, or like a 18th 19th century store.
It
You
is.
notice
It looks
that?
like it could have been like taken from Gold Rush at
Yeah,
some level.
because like there's a clerk there. So it's like a kind of a old-timey general store where there's a counter, and behind the counter are several shelves with stuff, and there's a clerk who is bald with hair on the sides, and he has like a white shirt with those little black like thing. What
They're
are
almost
those?
like garters
Yeah, like
for your
garters.
arms.
Yeah, armders.
Yeah.
You know what they are? Like the
I
thing
know
that like a
exactly what you're talking about.
bartender
Yeah, he's like
wear.
wearing a gray vest over a white shirt, right? Like he very
Yeah,
much has like he could also maybe be a bartender. He might be a
yeah.
blackjack dealer.
He looks like he could be in the opening of Cheers, like in the photos, like in the
Yes,
opening credits of Cheers. This
yes.
whole thing could be out of that.
Mhm.
That was
Now,
just
no,
the
we're not
thing that
talking about present day Cheers, which is to say 1980s Cheers. We're talking about all the photos of Cheers from days past. I know this is going to be a very like easily like conjured image for those of you who are listening to this right now. It's not like the show Cheers. It's like the old photos in the intro to the show Cheers.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, again, the style's kind of all over the place. I mean, the bandits treehouse is
Oh, then
kind of
there's just
living.
pirates.
Yeah, there's some pirates here too.
When does King's
There's a
Quest?
Yeti.
It's an abominable snowman.
I'm sorry.
Very
Yeah,
clear.
let me walk that back. I
When
don't want to offend anyone in the community.
yeah, when does like what period of fantasy like analog is King's Quest? Like because
That's
like
a
there
great
weren't
question.
pirates in like medieval times.
Yeah.
You know, like there weren't like jousts, and then also like, and when I
Mhm.
say yes, there were probably people doing crimes on the ocean,
Yeah.
but were there like Jolly Roger
No.
pirates? That's more of like a New World thing,
Yeah,
correct?
that's like, yeah, that you'd have to play Sid Meier's Pirates to learn more
Yeah,
about that.
yeah,
But no, I mean, this is like in my head, King's Quest is happening in like a classic medieval fantasy setting. It is like in the same kind of setting that you might imagine like a default Dungeons and Dragons campaign
sure, like
existing
a
in. Or
Forgotten Realm,
yeah,
if
exactly.
you
Yeah,
will.
that's where I put this. So yeah, anytime that King's Quest sort of steps outside of that, it's always interesting to me. Like even, jumping ahead a few games, I love the town in Serenia. By the time you get to King's Quest V, but even it seems just slightly more modern than I imagine the series, based on like
It's a
all we've seen.
little. It is a little bit like pre-Victorian, right?
Yeah, and I mean Dracula is the most Victorian
Yeah.
creature imaginable outside of like a Sherlock Holmes or a Jack the Ripper, and he's there in King's Quest too. So yeah, this is all over the place. I mean, you even at some point have possibly Roger's escape pod from the Arcata crash right into that moat. Now you got futuristic elements. What if
Now,
King Graham got a hold of that technology?
wait. Hold on, Jess. Who showed up in the previous? What monster showed up in the previous game?
Did I say Dracula? Oh my god, that Apple II GS version of that is so good. Blah 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 blah. And then if he gets you, no, I mean we shouldn't talk too much about King's Quest 2, but if he gets you, then you get a wonderful slurp sound effect. It's like, I mean, it's amazing. It is amazing. And is there anything as good as that in King's Quest 3? Maybe not. I don't know, but overall, for me, King's Quest 3 is probably the better game. Now, something that did leap out at me is I played this last summer and then played the remake just a week or so ago. This is a game that barely has puzzles in it. Like the puzzles are mostly just putting together spells and knowing when to use them.
It's like kind of a treasure hunt. You're finding stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, there's a puzzle, and it's like you show a mirror to Medusa. Like, let's say, like, kind of the fairy tale. Like, Medusa isn't a fairy tale, but like that's. I mean,
She's real.
yeah, she is real. Medusas are real. Like, yeah, I mean, it is a lot of a scavenger hunt, and of course, an arcade action sequence. What 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 am I Riley referring to?
Let's see, arcade action sequence. Are we talking about here? Oh gosh, what is the arcade action? Are we talking
I'm
about
referring to the exiting
oh,
and entering the castle.
oh yeah, that element of it. Yeah, I mean, you have this amazing, the Manannan's house sits atop a mountain with a windy, difficult to navigate, narrow pathway. That time includes blind turns because you walk behind
Like a
rocks.
rock. Yeah.
character isn't visible fully on screen, so you have to kind of guess where the path may twist through that. This was something. I mean, again, maybe that's the third element that makes this a stressful game is you have to do a lot of walking up and down that treacherous path, and there's a good chance even after you've gotten good at doing it over the course of the game, there's a decent chance every time you step onto it, you may fall.
It is so. I mean, if you're riding the clock in KQ3 and you're wrapping up and you have to get all the way up it, because the thing is that you get a magic map that lets you travel to anywhere, but on top of the mountain, it always delivers you at the bottom of the mountain.
Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. I
And
remember the first time I got that magic map and I was like, I'll never have to go up and down that path again. And then yeah, the rude
no,
awakening of realizing that I
no.
mean this scene, it kind of, I guess in a funny way, this scene more than any other single scene is what inspired StairQuest when I set out to make that game. Even though these aren't stairs technically, it's just a winding path. This was the scene that
Wait,
like
technically, you know what? I'm gonna have to ask you to cancel StairQuest. Just get rid of it, please.
what?
It's because this is technical. You were inspired, and these weren't stairs. This is ridiculous. I want my money
I mean,
back.
what what was I supposed to call it? Like Mountain Path Quest?
Yes,
We recreated this level at some level.
you did.
We recreated this level at some level in a level that we called Brown Mountain. Was the name of that level internally. And we added the element that at one point, as your character walks around the level, just a giant boulder falls out of the sky, possibly
Ugh.
crushing you. Because we were like, this doesn't feel unfair enough already. But no, this was a hallmark, of course, of these early King's Quest games. It would really end with King's Quest 4. That would be the last one to really have difficult, you know, again, they are practically arcade sequences of having to navigate around these sorts of spaces. But in hindsight, I find it kind of charming. It's such a bizarre design choice. I can't help but be like, all right, sure. That the idea that people just walk along paths that are several feet wide and just go careening off them occasionally. Why not? Yeah, that can be fine.
So I'm really intrigued by this that it's not really a game with like puzzles or that many puzzles. It's a because it's like a survival game. It is like you
Yeah.
learn the schedule and you learn the locations of everything, and then how to do it, and then and then you have to navigate because this does have it has that path out of the castle, but then it has the stairs which your cat might be on. It
Mm-hmm.
has climbing the mountain, which is the like in the back half after you defeat Mananan.
Mm-hmm.
You said this a bunch when you were streaming it. Like you said that when you would replay it, you would stop after defeating Mananan as a kid. Is that correct?
That was the part of the game that I liked most. I loved this element of just going around this world, gathering all these spell components. It was like a checklist. Your instruction manual told you all the components. So it was like a shopping list. I would just go out and get all these components one by one, put together all the spells. I would turn Mananan into a cat, which is how you defeat him. And then usually for me, that was all I wanted to play. Like I found the pirate ship element and then the journey back to Daventry much less interesting. I don't know why. Which
I think
I
the
think,
game kind of loses. I think that front half of the game is so much better than the back half.
as we're talking about this, I almost feel like King's Quest 3 has something in common with like a police quest game in that the procedural element is such a big part of what you do. The idea that you have processes you have to complete correctly in order to proceed, more so than a puzzle where you trade one item to somebody to get another item to solve a problem that you're facing.
Mhm.
It almost, and there's something I think for my slightly OCD brain that really appreciates that sort of approach to puzzle design. I mean, what I always liked to do as a kid was just see if I could get everything I needed to turn Mananan into a cat during his first outing. Like it became like a little speed run challenge for me.
Did you watch the One Short Eye on King's Quest 3?
I did at some point. It's been a
Yeah.
little while, but
That one's a lot of fun because it is a pain in the ass to stream or to speed race or speed race.
Speed racer. You got to hop in your Mach 5. You got to head to Little Door. I just got did nobody could see that. I just did the cool speed racer pose.
I saw it. I loved it.
It was very cool. I think is the main thing we want to take away from that. But yeah.
Have you seen that movie? You've seen that movie, right?
I haven't seen that movie and I need to.
Dude, you got to see
it. I hear it's
movie.
wonderful.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah.
It might be my favorite Wisconsin movie.
Wow.
Love that movie. I've got tickets to go see for the first time the Wiskowskis, I think, first movie, Bound, with a Q&A from Lily Wiskowski afterwards.
That sounds fantastic.
I'm really excited, unless I don't like it. But I think I'll probably like it.
Well, if you don't like it, that's the perfect opportunity, though, to express that.
Oh,
when one of the directors is there. Because, I mean, they aren't going to get better unless they get honest feedback.
That's true. It's about time, finally the Wiskowskis get feedback.
That's true. Everyone has just treated all of their work with such kid gloves up to this
that's
point.
right. That's right.
Wow. So, we were talking about King's Quest 3, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
But we could have also been talking about that. I think I need to get new blinds. Like my blinds are fine, but they have like the cords and it just makes me nervous,
Yeah. With cats.
Yeah.
With cats. I mean, speaking of blinds and King's Quest 3, we have a shop here in the town where I live that sells blinds and window treatments, and their name is the Blind Wizard, and they just have like a wizard mascot guy who I guess sells you Venetian blinds for your windows and everything. So much like Mananan, he has mastered the dark arts. Only he's channeled his abilities into interior decorating, sun shading, other sorts of talents like that. That's where he spec'd all his points. The Blind Wizard.
The Blind Wizard. But anyway, so we were talking also about like, do you think, and I got kind of this sense, like, is the back half like kind of an afterthought? Like, is it like, because that first part is so cohesive and all of Blue Door is like this really cohesive part, and then it's like you're in a pirate ship and then you like climb around some mountains and then, oh my god, it's like you just so happen to come across your sister.
Yeah, he's like, an entire kingdom. Now, granted, Daventry's a pretty small kingdom, but you are pretty fortunate in that regard. Like the vibe I get, like to me, the pirate ship sort of feels like an act 2, and it's horribly underdeveloped. There's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of hanging out. There's not a lot going on to really make it super engaging. And then the feeling I always got as a kid playing it was that like once you set foot on Daventry, it almost becomes like the march to victory. Like it almost feels like you're taking this like victory lap. This is just you almost in like it almost feels like a montage.
Stroll.
Yeah, that's right. It's just a pleasant stroll through a few screens, that ultimately leads you exactly where you need to go. You quickly defeat the monster, and by that point, you're kind of also, if you're really thinking through this with your puzzle brain turn on, Ben, what are the steps to solving a puzzles? Like if we ask Mr. Puzzle,
I forget. It's like look, deduce, or it's like observe, deduce, and like act or something like that.
Symbol or whatever it is.
I don't know.
I know by that point in the game as a kid, I was like, well, the only 2 spells I haven't really used are invisibility and thunderstorm. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's probably going to be how I beat this dragon. So yeah, this back end poses very little challenge. It just sort of feels like him triumphantly strolling toward his cushy new bedroom at the palace.
Is there are there any so there aren't any red herring spells in the book?
I
'Cause
don't
in Loom there
think
are red herring, like there's spells in the spell book, I'm pretty sure, in the book of patterns that you never use, if I
I'm
recall
trying to
correctly.
remember. Do you need the talk to animals spell? Like, is there any point at which that is necessary, or is that more just like a charming little opportunity to find out what the chickens are saying about you behind your back,
I
etc.?
don't think that's necessary. I think it's just fun.
Yeah, but I don't think there are any that go completely unused in any sort of way. So yeah, at some level you get to the end there, you're what feels like the final scene. You kind of know right away what has to happen here. Yeah, this a lot of this back end feels like an afterthought. I'm curious if that was the intention, like if the bulk of the game was supposed to be what's happening in Little Door, or if it was just a kind of like that meme that goes around with the sketch of the horse that starts out incredibly detailed and winds up as just like a very rough children's drawing of a horse.
Yeah, well, like it could have been time. There's part of me that just kind of wonders, it's like, did they even know how they wanted to end it, or did they have this really great, you know, escape the wizard game, and then it was like, and then he turns out to be Alexander.
It's a good question. No, I'm really not sure, but yeah, for me, again, when I played it, the game might as well have ended when you boarded the ship. That was all I needed to do. It's like, he'll probably get to Daventry somehow from here. That's good enough for me. I don't know. I'm sure there are people who love some of the stuff on this back end. Like you have the little scene where you're like crawling around on the cliff and everything. That's another fun arcade
You're up
sequence,
in the
right?
giants realm, except now there's a dragon.
Yeah,
Even
that's right.
worse.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they had even time to clean out in that 18 years the giant's body, or if that had just like the dragon came in and ate his giant bones. I don't know. They don't ever
So
address that.
we're towards the end of our discussion, but we didn't talk too much about the AGD remake.
Redux.
Yeah, so you just played that. What did you think of that? And what were the different, like, 2 was like a totally different game
Yeah,
using like kind of the bones of 2. What was this like? What
this
did
one
they do with
sticks
this?
much closer to the original. Now it adds, of course, VGA graphics, the point and click interface. Once again, some fantastic voice work. Josh Mandel has a brief appearance as Graham at the end of this thing, but you have a voice for Gwydion / Alexander that sounds convincingly like a younger version of Robbie Benson's performance as
Pretty
Alexander
impressive.
in King's Quest 6. The narrator that they used in King's Quest 1
Is
and
great.
2 is once again very professional, very easy to listen to over the course of an entire game. It's a game that looks great, sounds great. The music is quite good. Once again, they kind of stick pretty close to the original. There are a few little wrinkles here and there. For instance, one page of the spell book is missing, and you have to complete a little puzzle to recover that. For some reason, they add the wandering minstrel, the bard,
Yes.
that appears in King's Quest 4 that Rosella meets. I'm assuming it's the same guy. It seems to be hinting that it is. And you have a little brief puzzle with him. Probably the area where we see the biggest divergence is on the pirate ship, which is good because this is the part of the game that needed something. I would agree if I were looking at King's Quest 3 and trying to think about how do I make this a better game, figuring out how to fix some of that,
Act 2
maybe
stuff.
the Act 2 and Act 3 stuff is where I would go. And Act 2 in particular, because the pirate ship is just, it kills all momentum. There's so much momentum in this game building up to escaping Banana, and then the pirate ship just slams on those brakes. It
Because you're
is.
just waiting there for like 14 minutes.
That's
if I
right.
recall
Yeah, there's this
correctly. Yeah.
long wait for land ho before you get off. In the AGD interactive version, on the pirate ship, there's a brief interlude where the pirates they pull up on Treasure Island and they set Gwydion ashore, and tell him to brave all the booby traps and puzzles on his way to dig up a lost treasure. And it's pretty fun. I mean, these are just puzzly ass puzzles. They're very much just sort of environmental logic puzzle type things that aren't that difficult, that are pretty charming. And ultimately, it adds a good 15 to 20 minutes of gameplay in a way that makes the pirate section seem like it belongs a little bit more, justifies having a whole pirate bit, I feel like. Now, it does have a bit at the end where like you recover the treasure
They
and
do some lore stuff in
there's
there,
some
which is a
ancient spirit
little
that
extra.
shows up and he has all this lore dump. I mean, this is my one knock on the AGD interactive remakes in general, which I love, is when they decide to go deep into lore for a series where I don't know that King's Quest needs a whole lot more lore than what's on screen.
No.
If anything, the more you try to come up with a lore explanation for what's going on in these games, I feel like the less sense it starts to make. So it does a little bit of that sort of stuff, but otherwise it sticks pretty close to the original, which makes sense. It didn't need the kind of maybe fleshing out that King's Quest 2 arguably did. So, yeah, this one stays pretty close, but it's still a great version to play. I mean, I know for some people out there, the text parser, the challenges of typing in all those spells, some of the navigating the mountain path, all those things we talked about that make this an annoying game. The VGA fan remake really fixes those. It also gives you a much clearer sense of when Manannan is returning. It will actually turn your clock first green, then yellow, then red as like a warning. It's like you're getting close. If you aren't back and have hidden all your stuff under the bed, you'd better hurry. I mean, and that actually reminds me, that's something I wanted to mention. As a kid, this idea that as you gather spell components, if Manannan catches you with any of these spell components, it's game over right away.
Yeah, it's a don't wake daddy scenario.
Yeah, it's a real don't wake daddy scenario.
They originally called Don't Wake Daddy King's Quest 3 : Manannan the board game, and then
romancing the throne, quest for the crown. Yeah, as is the naming convention for the series.
Right. And but unfortunately Mattel did not go through the correct licensing channels, so they instead went with a much more clunky and less memorable name, Don't Wake Daddy, which frankly is one of the biggest marketing boners of all time, I would say.
Huge boner. But yeah, this element of hiding stuff under the bed, I love. Like as a kid, the notion that Gwydion is like hatching this plot and having to squirrel away all of these, little items, including literally acorns. At one point, he's squirreling away acorns just like a squirrel.
He's acorning away squirrels.
He's doing that too at one point. Yeah. It's troubling, but everything about this like just feels more. I don't know. It's so much.
It feels like you're doing something.
It feels like you're doing something that a real person might do, which there's not a lot of opportunity to do that in King's Quest 1 and 2. This Graham very seldom has real person moments in either of those games. He has adventure game protagonist moments. And when Gwydion's feeding chickens and dusting an office,
or in the Redux constantly making meals,
just porridging up that wizard left and right. Yeah, no. Those sorts of things, hiding the spell components, having to sneak around at some level, all of that just makes this feel so much more real than what we see in King's Quest 1 and 2, while still being a ridiculous fairy tale where Medusa can live like 150 yards away from Goldilocks.
Yeah. Not far. Not far from like the bandit's secret tree.
Yeah.
The most beautiful waterfall.
Yeah. And the most beautiful barmaid as well. No, the waterfall, I mean, I think we maybe mentioned this in our AGI episode, but the scene with the waterfall spilling down into a couple little pools, the angle is shot from like within the waterfall. So the waterfall's kind of in the foreground. It's there in Luldor early in the game. I still think for my money, maybe one of the most beautiful and most ambitious AGI scenes you're going to find. Like, I think you probably have to go to like maybe a Gold Rush to find a much prettier scene than this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It is like that one. There's another waterfall later in the game that is also pretty cool looking.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the graphics in this game are on point for like what you imagine to be Sierra's, initial salvo of AGI games. King's Quest 3 is pretty hard to beat on a visual level.
Yeah.
So yeah, King's Quest 3, I love. I will just say, I think this may be my favorite King's Quest game.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I'm willing to go that far in, Ben. I do think, like, I don't know, we'll probably eventually have to do a tournament bracket to know for sure. That's the only way to scientifically determine what we like and don't like. But I think it's like King's Quest 3. I think it's King's Quest 3 for me. I think it's King's Quest 3, then maybe King's Quest 5.
5.
I really like, 5
even 5.
5 is riddled with problems. I will be the first to admit this.
3
I think in
then
terms
5
of a game that charms me to death, King's Quest 5 is so charming and so nostalgic, and just like I think I connect so much of a I can't believe computers can do this vibe with King's Quest 5 that.
All right, well, what's your third?
My third, oh man. I don't want to say it. It's best that I don't, because you'll just
4.
No, it's 7. I think it's 7. Yeah, I have messed up.
What
King's
do you
Quest.
have against 6? Jesus Christ!
6 is probably next. Then 4. Then 2. Then 1.
6 in the bottom half.
6 in the bottom half. I know that is not a popular opinion, but famously, Ben, I only played King's Quest 6 for the first time like last year. I just skipped that forever. I was like, I'm going to put that one on the back burner for a few decades. And I think I just didn't get a chance to get the same kind of emotional connection to it. But yeah, 3 is my favorite. I love this game. I don't know what it is. I mean, I think I've mentioned on the podcast before.
Yeah, I played.
Me and my friend like tried to film like one afternoon, like a little fan movie of King's Quest 3, like where we took his little rinky-dink camcorder out in his yard and tried to recreate King's Quest 3 as a little mini movie. That's how much I love this game. This was for me like the ultimate as far as these early Sierra games went in a lot of ways. I think that it may be my favorite AGI game, except of course for Space Quest 2.
Mm-hmm.
The funniest game ever made.
Yeah, correct. All right, well, folks, thank you so much for joining us as we discussed King's Quest 3. Please leave us a review, a good one. It helps people find this, 5 stars, etc. Do all that. You can send us an email at questquestpodcast@gmail.com. We'll read it at the start of the show. And you can watch us on our respective Twitches, PS_Garrick and Decaf Jedi. Also, those are our YouTubes. And finally, you can join us next week when we discuss Gumby, the adventure game. 58% less problematic than the Neverhood. Farewell!